It is spring in eastern Kentucky, and odds are your yard probably looks a lot like our yard, covered in wildflowers and just various weeds that have grown up all over the place because it's spring and it's not quite time to start mowing the lawn yet. Well, if that's the case, we're going to go on a little bit of adventure today and forage these flowers right here. These are commonly known as purple or red dead nettle, and they have a handful of medicinal properties. They're actually part of the mint family, and what we're going to do is pick a bunch, dehydrate them down, and make them into a medicinal salve that you can use for cuts and scrapes, just, you know, minor exterior wounds, and hydration for your skin. As you can see, I'm not going to worry too much about harvesting too much because there is an absolute crud ton of these things hanging out here in the yard. And what we're going to do today is just kind of fill this box that I have up with these before moving them on in to the dehydrator. So when you pick them, you're just going to want to grab them a couple inches down. I mean, we're not going to be using the stems necessarily. We just really, trying to get to focus. Focus. We just want these leaves and the little purple flowers that they have to offer to put into our salve. You also probably want to, I hadn't been doing this, but you're going to want to turn them upside down and give them a little bit of a shake because little bugs like to hide up inside their leaves. I wish that would focus. Do it this way. That's a little bit better. Bugs and dirt and things will try to hide up in those little leaves. So you're going to want to give them a pluck and then give them a shake. Make sure you're not taking any of the other stuff in. General rule of thumb while you're foraging, do not pick or eat anything that you are not 100% sure what it is. We're looking for purple dead nettle, which we can see over there. These look a little similar. It's called henbit. And, I mean, once you really get to looking at them, you can see that it's different. This has got less leaves. It still has the purple flowers, but it doesn't have the cone-shaped leaves coming out of it. So these are not what we're looking for. I've looked into these. They're not toxic. Can actually be used in conjunction with or instead of the purple dead nettle, but that's not what we're after today. Alright, so this is my box full of the purple dead nettles and a handful of dandelion flowers. And everybody knows, most everyone in the area, that dandelions are edible also. Dandelion greens for salads and stuff like that. Even the flowers are edible. But we're going to dry all of these up in the dehydrator and turn them into something that we can use for medicine as well as just hydrating our skin. Admittedly, it is tomorrow. I got busy yesterday evening and I didn't go ahead and dehydrate these, but they're going to be dehydrated, so I don't think them being a little wilty is going to be a problem. Of course, Kent likes to make cat noises in the background. So we're just going to take these whole pieces just as they are. I'm trying to see through the lens, and also, so I don't like how those turned out. We might have to get new dandelions now that I waited too long. But for all of our nettles, we're just going to lay them out to where they're not piled up on top of each other and try to do as many on a sheet as possible. I'm probably just going to let these run overnight. And I'll catch back up with you whenever we get them started after we got it all loaded up. Somehow I must have known what I was doing because my box was mostly full and now it is completely empty, and we used all the trays. So I'm kind of winging this. I've never done this before. I'm working off of a recipe and a tutorial that I happened upon online. So we're giving this a shot for the first time, kind of together. Kent has talked me into going ahead and trying to dry these wilted dandelion heads. So we're going to give them a go also. Current plan is just on low, and we're just going to let it hang out probably overnight. I'll check them in the morning before I go to work and see what kind of a state we're at. We're just looking to get them crispy, crumbly, dry. Just as dry as possible. Alright, I have got everything together that we need to start trying to make our salve. First we have to make an infused oil. So to do that, we're going to take our dried dead nettle that I took off the dehydrator today. See, it's really green. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's really crispy. And it smells good. It has this really grassy floral smell. What do you think, Kent?
Stinks.
It smells like grass, but it smells like flowers too. It's weird. So we're going to take that into a second jar and put, I don't know, we'll say
I'd sure hate for the cops to bust in here right now. They think we got marijuana.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm going to give it a little bit of squeeze, you know, just get the pieces a little bit smaller in there. I'll go about that much, give or take around about half. And then we're going to use, some pieces. We're going to use coconut oil for this recipe. And obviously coconut oil is kind of solid at room temperature, but it turns to liquid once you get it just a little bit warm. So I'm going to take a minute and spoon this out into our jar. This ain't going to work like that. Huh. I did think this would be easier to spoon. It is quite solid.
From that state there, that coconut oil is the consistency of like hog lard or something.
I don't think I know what hog lard feels like.
City person.
It is rather solid.
Okay, we're going to start with that. That's about half this jar. And once we get it on to the double boiler kind of a deal, we can always add more if we need it. Because we're wanting to have, you know, about this much greenery. And we'd like it to get about the same, like about double the oil in it. And then we're going to let that cook on the stove, which I'll bring you back and show you that too. We're going to let that cook on the stove for about 3 hours, and all that does is just infuse the nutrients and vitamins and all the good medicinal properties from our dead nettle into that oil so that we can strain it later. You can, if you want to, use a liquid oil. You can use extra virgin olive oil or something else that comes in a liquid state, and you can just jar it up and let it sit for 5 or 6 weeks, and that'll infuse that way too. But we're going to do this with the hardened coconut oil. Alright, so what we've gotten here is there's some water in the pan, and we've set this in with it, and we're just going to let this oil cook down and add more if needed. And just once all of the oil melts down into the herbs, we're going to leave that, like I said, for about 3 hours. And make sure you're putting water back in your pan because it will boil dry. Alright, we've been boiling for a minute. I actually ended up adding the rest of that jar. So that was a 14 ounce jar of coconut oil. And this is where we're looking at. So I think I'm actually going to add some more. I have another small jar. But ultimately, it just depends on how much you're wanting to make. I'm planning on making quite a few of these. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more oil. Alright, so this is what we're left with after we've had our boil. If you can tell, I don't know if the white in the background, maybe the clear oil has turned kind of yellowy green. And we're going to strain it into our other jar with just a thin mesh strainer to make sure we get all of our flowers out. And we did let this sit to cool. Obviously not cool enough that the oil went back into its solid state, but cool enough to hold. Let that sit for a minute. And we're just going to let that drain. You see, looking down here, there are probably still a couple of little plant pieces. I don't know if they're very visible to you or not, but I don't think they're going to hurt anything. Like I said, this isn't for eating, so I wouldn't worry about leaving any of the plant pieces in it. But right here in a minute, we're going to get, once we get this separated out completely, as you can tell, it is still draining. I don't want to lose any of it. We'll get it back into a type of double boiler situation and melt the beeswax into it before adding it to our little tins and letting them harden. So to our slightly simmering water, I'm going to add this metal bowl with our beeswax in it. That's about a tablespoon of beeswax, and we're just going to melt it. And once it gets all good and melty, we're going to take it back over to the table where our oil is and combine the two. As you can tell, it's already starting to get kind of liquidy. This shouldn't take very long at all. Ready? So it may not look like much, but there is beeswax melted in the bottom of that. And to our 1 tablespoon of beeswax, we're going to add about 7 tablespoons of our oil. Now I'm working with a ½ tablespoon measure, so I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Is what we're called for, but some of those were light, so I'm putting the 15th one in. Now we're going to give that a stir to incorporate and mix with our beeswax. Looking a little on the clumpy side. I believe our beeswax got cold on us when we put the oil in. So what I think I might do is head back over to the stove, and then I'll be right back once I've got this melted back together. Alright, as far as our tins that we're putting our salve in goes, I ordered these off Amazon. They come in a set with all 3 colors. I've already measured out, this holds about 2 tablespoons of liquid. So with what we've just made, I should be able to fill all 3 of these, the silver gold and rose gold. And we will see here in just a second once I pull it off the stove and start spooning it in. So here we are back from the oven, from the stove. Everything is melted together. And I'm just going to start trying to spoon it into our little containers here while it's still warm. Set that down so I don't spill it. We're going to try to do a little bit of pouring action here. See how that works. There, much better. Now 1, 2, the rest into that one there. Alright guys, and once those set up, we'll bring you back. It shouldn't take too long. Where the air's kind of cool in here, but we'll see.
You know, you could always put them in the fridge. Just saying.
Well, I don't know what that would do to them.
Get them hard?
We'll put one in the fridge just to find out. Alright, we are back. It's been, what, 10-15 minutes? I had Kent go ahead and put the pink one in the fridge, and that's how it's set up. The other 2...
Move your arms.
The other 2 we just left out on the counter. And they all look about the same. So I'm going to say being in the fridge or not doesn't really matter. But we're definitely going to give these a test. I'm going to get the silver one here. We're just going to put our fingers around in it. There we go. Take that. And it doesn't really have much of a smell. Options if you want to when you're making this, you can add some essential oils, different kind of smells that you would like. We just wanted to go with something natural for this first recipe, but it feels great. It's not necessarily greasy.
Hold on 1 second, guys. If you want to get you a good laugh.
What? Did I touch my nose? What? Did I touch my nose? Oh. Well, I was trying to sniff it. But yeah, that seems to be about what it's going to be like. I wonder if that just wasn't set all the way. Just on the off chance that this wasn't actually set up all the way, we're going to try the one that was in the fridge too. Just going to give it just kind of a press down. Yeah, this one is much more firm. But it does come off, like once you get it kind of warming up. You can see it there on my finger.
For all you guys out there, it's kind of the consistency of like a beard wax or something. It's kind of the same gesture.
Which I was also, I think I mentioned earlier in the video, this was me winging it. So I think with the other ones, we may actually go less beeswax and try to get a softer consistency. So this is kind of trial and error, but it definitely does its job. Benefits of the dead nettle salve. Dead nettle is anti-inflammatory, it's anti-microbial. You can use it on cuts and scrapes. Pretty well anything you want to, even just, you know, dryness, because it is just a natural moisturizer as well. Safe, family-friendly, kid-friendly. If you do give it a try, let us know how it went. If you want to try different oils, you can too. The recipe that I was starting off of, she used olive oil. I just thought the coconut oil would be a good thing to give it a shot with. But yeah, as always, thank you for watching. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Try to remember to share us. And thank you all and God bless.